UK lawmakers annoyed that the £2.5 billion from the sale of Chelsea FC has still not yet gone to support Ukraine as had been promised nearly 2 years ago by former owner Roman Abramovich.
Here's a summary of the article.
UK lawmakers expressed frustration Wednesday that funds from the sale of the Chelsea soccer club have not yet gone to support Ukrainian war victims as had been promised nearly 2 years ago by the former owner, Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich. Abramovich sold Chelsea in 2022 after being sanctioned by the British government for what it called his enabling of Russia's brutal and barbaric invasion of Ukraine. The frozen funds still belong to Abramovich, who sold Chelsea to a consortium fronted by Los Angeles Dodgers part owner Todd Boehly. To move the funds, Abramovich must apply for a license that the British government has said is contingent on the money being used for exclusively humanitarian purposes in Ukraine. That could include Ukrainians outside Ukraine, and lawmakers have heard evidence to suggest that Abramovich also perhaps foresaw it being used in Russian-controlled parts of Ukraine as well, Ricketts said. The terms of the agreement between the British government and Abramovich are not public, but the deal foresaw the money being used to help those suffering from the consequences of the Ukraine war, Penrose said. Penrose said he hoped an agreement could be reached soon and suggested the funds are now stuck in a bureaucratic hole, because the UK had agreed with the EU that the funds could only be used for projects inside Ukraine.
This post received a score of 2,700, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
An oligarch told fibs. What has this world come to?
A Russian oligarch told fibs.
Not just your average case of billionaire lying for financial gain.
Trust Russian oligarch. What can go wrong?
The very disrespect of Russians for objective truth. Indeed, their disbelief in its existence leads them to view all stated facts as instruments for furtherance of one ulterior purpose or another. George Kennan, The Long Telegram.
A Russian lied and a politician believed. Another startling new: the sun rises in the east.
Don't change the title of articles.
To be fair, the funds are frozen. But people don't read articles and also create post headlines that are not the same as the source article. The irony. If you actually read the article, then you know the funds are frozen because Abramovich disagrees with the UK over how it should be spent, with Abramovich wanting to use some of the money on the Russian-held areas of Ukraine, a clear violation of existing sanctions and something the government said it would forbid and veto.
Just sanction the sleazy bastard, take all his money and cut Zelensky a banker's check.
If you thought he'd actually follow through, I have a bridge to sell you.
They just gonna wait for the story to die down, then unfreeze them and they will disappear into an offshore account. Bet UK politicians get a cut.
They spent $1 billion on players since. Such a punishment for a club built by a bloody baron. Whole shit smear is an empire built of dirt by the fuck trying to wash his image and keep himself safe from disappearing. Such a disgrace.
He sold the club. How does the spending of the new owners have anything to do with him? The point wasn't to punish Chelsea. It was to punish Abramovich by taking Chelsea from him.
No, they're not. The British government receives huge sums of money from oligarchs, and has done for decades. The sluts of sleaze willfully turned a blind eye whilst signaling virtue elsewhere. It's the politician's playbook.
I really don't get this argument. Why would the UK be one of the strongest supporters for Ukraine, especially from the start, and push for sanctions like the SWIFT ban if they were being controlled by Russian money? They could have left the rest of Europe to deal with this mess instead of sending billions of for a mess created by the rest of Europe funneling hundreds of billions of euros for cheap Russian gas and underspending on their own defense.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.